That's a common theme on the podcast is you just don't know. And when you're introduced to something, finally you know. But in another side, you just don't know. And what can you do if you don't know? And once you do know,
Right.
there's an opportunity to actually do something.
And that's so huge. And a lot of kids miss that these days. They miss
Mm-hmm.
that part where someone like me who comes back to give it back to the kids to say, hey, this is what I did. This is where I failed. This is where I succeeded. Lean to the success as much as possible so you don't have to go through the failures that I went through.
Don't want to
And
learn the hard way. Let me just tell you now, you know?
exactly.
Just let me just tell you
Exactly.
now so you don't have to learn the hard way, you know? And that's we blame, and that's I have a hard time with that, like with kids, even young men being locked up. They get locked up for stuff they don't really know. They're not really shown an alternative. They don't know that there's options, and they don't know, and then they're treated as criminal, and that's really
Right.
tough for me, you know,
It
to
makes it
see.
makes it real tough to see that.
It's really tough because you don't know. Even look at people we know growing up who have had success. There's a lot of stuff they didn't know. You know, our dear friend Charles Rogers, there's a lot of stuff he didn't know. And this guy's like a god. He's like a legend, you know, and there's a lot of stuff he doesn't know. And you're in an organization, a professional organization, and they still don't tell you things. And I learned it from Stu
No.
too. Stu will say the same exact thing.
And just thinking about those two,
Mm-hmm.
just being born with gifts.
Mm-hmm.
They were born to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
It was, their when their parents got together, their children were going to be the best.
Yes.
And it's it was they
Yeah.
were born with it.
Yes.
And I always tell my dad, I was like, you obviously picked a good lady for me to turn out the way I did,
Yes.
but I had to work for everything. It's like, man, I had the genes in there. I had to pull
Mm-hmm.
it out myself. And
Yeah, right.
so I think about those two where, they didn't really have to work as hard. It
Stu
was
worked
more
a lot harder
natural.
than Rogers, that's for sure, because Rogers could just
He
get up
did
out
work.
of bed and break a state record in the 400
Yeah,
meters.
no.
And he didn't even run it before.
Yeah, he didn't work. He was so natural. It was
My
honestly,
gosh.
he could literally wake up and be the best at
Almost in
whatever.
everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
he could be the best at track. He could be the best in basketball. He could be the best at football, literally waking up out of his sleep. And
I remember in our
yeah,
sophomore year, I had made a steal, and I'm like, oh, here I go, and I'm just running as fast as I can down the court, and there's Rogers. Rogers looked at me and basically his eyes said, "You're moving too fast for me to chase you. This is like the fastest
yeah,
man we ever seen. He just let me go." I'm like, this guy is funny because I'm like, I don't think I can outrun him. This is Charles Rogers. And he just let me go
right,
instead, you know?
right, yeah.
Like,
He
we're
he
going to
just
win
made
the
a business
game.
decision.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to win the game. It's not really worth chasing you right now. You have your layup. Go ahead and even dunk it, you know? That's how Rogers was. I mean, I love Rogers, just his aura in that way. Talk about laid back. There's someone that's laid back, really cool. I mean, he's got that like that Saginaw beast inside of him where he wants to win, but at the same time, he was a peaceful person. He was a loving person in that way
Very
where he
happy.
didn't have no happy, right. Didn't have no
Yeah.
beef in that way that I ever saw. Which I actually
No,
liked about most of Saginaw, besides a few guys, but most of Saginaw I like that, you know.
not a lot of issues with those
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
Charles was a very peaceful, didn't really, it wasn't a lot of people who didn't like Charles.
That's what I
And
figured.
usually if they didn't like him, it was some form of jealousy,
It's just jealousy.
athletic wise.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yep.
maybe their girlfriend liked Chuck. But
Yeah,
outside of
yeah, that's
that,
right. Yeah, that's right.
outside
He
of
was a
that, Chuck was
player.
a lovable guy.
Very
And
lovable guy. Great smile. Just a really nice guy. But man, he always
yeah.
seemed sleepy.
Gotta
Man
love
was so
Chuck.
sly. Like, do you just wake up? Yeah. Like again? Like,
Yeah, you gotta love Chuck. You gotta love him.